Hi, Jericho.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I'm happy to talk to you, but also sad. You were definitely one of the faithfuls I was really pulling for, in all honesty. But I'm
Oh, I'm
excited
so
to
grateful.
pick your brain.
Yeah, I mean, like, it feels good that a lot of people, loved my faithful energy, but it was a silent killer in that house.
Well, unfortunately, your time is here, but we are gonna talk all things game, all things strategy. And I want to start by asking you, like, what is your knowledge of the Traitors? Were you like a super fan, a fan of the show? Where were you at?
I think, to be honest with you, if the casting director asks, I was a super fan. But in reality, I was like an average fan. I had seen the Traitors US season 3. That was my main knowledge of the show. I also watched Traitors Canada season 2. Um, those were the main ones I watched, to be honest. I had seen clips of the other shows and I did some research before going in on Traitors UK. I wanted to mimic a game like Harry. I didn't watch the season, but I just researched kind of like what he did. To be honest, my prep for the show was kind of just watching Love Island. So that's how I prepped to get on this show.
That's totally fair. We love Love Island here. So I have to ask then, why did you audition? Was it the idea of being on TV, or was it just for the sake of it, an opportunity that you may not have? What was the reason?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Survivor and Big Brother. That's kind of what got me hooked on the traders, just because of the past people coming on to play. So when I saw the opportunity arise, I was like, why not send in a video? Did I think I was gonna get on? No. Did I end up getting on? Yes. So the main thing about me sending the video was no one's gonna really know. I'm gonna just try. And then if I end up getting on, then c'est la vie, we go on. And I ended up getting on. So I was excited at the idea of playing a game that other people like Big Brother players and Survivor players have played, and I thought that I would be able to at least maneuver my way through a little bit and at least, put up a fight.
Hmm. Well, let's talk about strategy because there is a big part of it. I think there's this idea that it's traders versus faithfuls, but there's a lot of nuance there. So I have to ask you, coming into the game, is there a team that you wanted to be on? And was there any other strategies that you had going into the game?
Yeah, so kind of my pitch to get on the show was that I'd be a really good trader. And I promise you, if they had chosen me as a trader right off the bat, I would have, I don't know what I would have done, but I feel like I would have really played a very strategic game. Coming into the game, I was the youngest person there, and right off the bat, a lot of people trusted me just based on my demeanor and being the youngest, finishing university. So they all really just kind of thought that I would never or be capable of being a trader right off the bat. So that was kind of like my hope because I knew that I could at least play that type of character and be that young, silly guy. But to be honest with you, my strategy going in was just to be adaptable. I wanted to make sure that I was at least good with most people, if not everyone. And that's kind of my gameplay at the beginning, just kind of being friends with everyone.
Well, let's talk about going into the manor, right? You talk about having a history of Survivor and Big Brother. So obviously you're seeing Kevin Jacobs, Omar, Venus,
Right.
even Ty, like these like Big Brother vets. So
Yes.
how do you react in that moment?
It felt like I was jumping into a reality TV like arena filled with people who have like tens and tons of experience on top of me. So when I did see them, I was kind of just like shell shocked. I was like, damn, y'all put me in the ring with these people. I've never played a game in my life. Like, how am I supposed to play? But I think just meeting them in general, they were very down to earth and really kind people. Like I am such big fans of them on TV. So seeing them in real life and seeing how like authentic and real and kind they were made it even better. And even if they weren't reality TV people, I think I still would have like aligned with them because they were just honestly like top tier. They were really great people. But it was like definitely like crazy seeing them.
I can imagine. I'm curious in terms of like the other, I guess, non-reality participants beforehand. Was there anyone that stood out to you? We know you have a relationship with Rhea, obviously, but I don't know if that happens early on. So who maybe from the jump did you connect with?
So Ria was, to be honest, pretty much from the jump. She was someone who I just instantly bonded with right off the bat. Another person was Thompson. So Ria and Thompson were two like people that I just saw and thought that they were the most like authentic, but also had a good mind for the game. And I wanted to play the game with people who I knew I could trust, but also people who I could kind of strategize with. And those two people I connected with right off the bat. And funny enough, I wanted us three to work together, and I didn't want them to be fighting at the round table. I was trying to get us together because I really wanted us three to, make some good moves in the game.
Okay, well, let's talk about the first time you meet at the round table to decide who are faithful and who are traitors. Obviously, you mentioned that you wanted to be a traitor, so I'm curious what your experience was like having Corinne tap your shoulder and tell you, hey, you are a traitor, but the gag is not at all. You're actually a faithful.
Yeah, you know what's so funny is that, so I came in wanting to be a trader, but when I had met the cast,
Hmm.
it's like, oh, I'm a faithful. I like there was no avoiding the fact that I was gonna be a faithful. I had seen Kevin, I saw Ty, I saw Omer, I saw Dom. I said, you guys have a lot of people to choose from, and honestly, I'm probably lower on that list. So when I did get tapped, I honestly was shocked more than anything. I said, wait, you guys really just picked me? And when I found out the twist, it honestly made me more relieved than anything because I was coming into that round table thinking I was going to be a faithful. So once I was a faithful, I was like, okay, well, now my nerves are like calm and like I can like breathe.
Okay. Well, you come in and you see, I guess, the rest of the cast and you think, I'm a faithful, but I'm curious, how does that play in your mind in a strategic sense, right? There's a little bit of what I'll call metagaming, right? There is this idea that a lot of these vets end up being in the turret in one way or another. And you also see them and you think, I'm more likely to be faithful than the rest of them. So, how much did you take that into consideration when you were thinking about who could be a faithful, who could be a traitor?
Yeah, good question. I think that um just based on past seasons, I knew that there was some sort of gamer who was going to be selected. And funny enough, the people that I really loved right off the bat um, were the gamers. I don't know why, but I just really bonded with them. Kevin was so nice. Ty was a really good person. Omer I loved. So I knew that at least one of those three are likely to become traitors. And if they are, at least let them know that I'm good friends with them and hopefully they can keep me. So it was half strategy to be friends with them because I knew one of them would be a traitor, but it was so easy to click with them because they were just such good people. So I knew that at the end of the day that these friendships are real, but they're here to protect me and hopefully they're gonna get me farther down the line.
Well, I want to talk about the first night when, or rather the first morning when someone's been murdered, because Ty does get murdered, and Ty does fall under, I guess, the
Oh,
gamer archetype and probably
that
someone.
hurts.
I
Oh,
thought that first breakfast was so interesting because you're sitting there with Kevin and Thompson, and I had a chat with Thompson, and he told me like I was thinking Kevin was a traitor, so I was o- overselling myself. I'm curious what your thought was because I just thought you were brilliant in that confessional when you were talking about the morning breakfast.
fair, fair. Coming into that breakfast, I had already solidified like a good relationship with most of the guys, and Ty was someone who was really top tier in that list. So when I didn't see him come in, I was so gutted because I really wanted to play the game with him, and I thought he was such like a good person. So I knew at the end of the day, I want to work with people who I like and people who would be good at the game. So when I'm surrounded by like Kevin and Dom, to be honest with you, I had a feeling that Kevin could be a traitor, but the thing was that he seemed so how should I say this? Like good at the game. Like no one really was talking about him. So I'm not gonna be the first person to bring up his name. Like I'm not gonna start any enemies here. Like I rather have him on my side. And he did a really good job. And I will say I will give Kevin credit. Kevin was good at the game. Like if you look at the votes, there's only a few votes against him. Even when he was acting chaotic and sporadic, people still kept him in the game. Like he was really good and I really wanted him on my side. So I wasn't I had a feeling he was a traitor, but I was really wasn't gonna like push it that much.
Hmm. Well, how do you go about your day? That's something I'm always curious about because you have, I guess, the standard breakfast, and then it's like, okay, go, like, be free, like,
Go
yeah,
run around the house.
yeah.
Yeah. To be honest with you, the way I went about it, I don't know how other people did. I kind of just gravitated towards the people who I liked.
Hmm.
Sorry. I just felt like if we're gonna have time in this game to talk, and which is not a lot of time, I wanted to talk with the people who I felt like I really liked and I needed to strategize with. So at the beginning there were a lot of big groups, but as the game got smaller and smaller, it was a lot of like one-on-one conversations, and I would do my best to not stay in a single group for too long. Once I would hear a conversation would get like off track, like people would start talking about their dogs or people would start talking about their kids, I would leave. To be honest, like I love it. Like I want to hear about your lives, but we can talk about that another day.
Hmm.
I'm trying to figure out who the traders are. So I would literally go and say, "Oh, I'll be right back." Never came back. I would just try to find another person to talk to, but that's how I kind of ran around the house.
Well, I want to talk about the this idea of like voting with a group versus like being a sheep versus just trying to get a traitor because you end up voting for the second time Chala. The first time you vote Curtis, which obviously he's not a traitor. How do you go about that voting? Because like voting as a group is important, obviously, but when you're not maybe agreeing with it or you want to vote a different way, like how do you tackle that?
I think it's important to do your best to mitigate like your threat level.
Hmm.
So when I ended up voting Chala, it was for two reasons. One, because honestly, Chala and Curtis were really close in the game. So when I saw Chala vote out Curtis, I was shocked. I was like, how are you gonna vote out your homeboy like that? So I was like, justice for Curtis, let me go after Chala. And I had a feeling that, let's say it was a misfire or it didn't hit and Chala was not a traitor, the traitors would look at me less. I was just in the grave. I don't want to look like I was some sort of strategic mastermind. I don't want people to think I'm onto the traitors. And then when it came to the Kevin vote, um, I was close with a lot of the people that voted for Kevin. So it made sense at that time to jump along with them to build trust with those people and to make us feel like we're all faithful. So people who voted out Kevin would feel like they're faithfuls and it would show other people that we're faithfuls as well. So it's like balancing the line of making sure you look like a faithful, but also if you need to steer off course sometimes and misfire, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But yeah, I learned that from Thompson actually to misfire sometimes.
Hmm. Well, I do want to talk about the grave situation because I thought it was so interesting. The moment
Mm,
we see the four of you, like obviously as a viewer, you have an understanding like, okay, all of these people are faithful. But the even the notion or the idea that someone was a traitor in the grave to me was a bit wild. I was like, there's no way you have no control over that. Can you talk us through that discourse?
Can I tell you, I was also dumbfounded when people were bringing that up at the table. I said, no traitor would put themselves in the grave. Like sometimes their reasonings were boggling my mind because I was so thrown off by a theory because it was so randomly put together. It literally came from like another planet, and I was just sitting there like a viewer who was watching on TV, being like, I can't believe it. But yeah, so when I did see who was in the grave with me, I knew all of us were faithfuls. And it was so obvious to me, and I still don't know why people had that theory. It just did not make sense to me at all.
I it's also interesting because in a moment like in that situation, I'm so curious what it feels like to be in the grave. Obviously, I've spoken to Mackenzie, but you get saved fairly early on. Like you were the first, I believe, and that must build confidence, but how it's still anxiety inducing because you're in a grave, like you are marked for murder.
Yeah, yeah. So coming into that morning, actually, so I had given Jamal the shield, and Jamal and I built a really good rapport. And from the second mission, so honestly, I wanted him to have it, but I also felt like I was safe. We had a lot of people still left in the game, and I had built fairly good connections. So I was like, "There's no way a trader would kill me yet. Like, come on, be real." So, so when I found out I was in the grave, like paranoia set like crazy because I was like, I thought I was hidden. I thought I was blending in with the wallpaper. I was trying to be boring. That's why Coco said I was boring. I was trying to be boring. So, like it really hit hard, and after that moment. I really switched up my gameplay to be a bit more aggressive. I wasn't just gonna sit there and let people kind of, have these crazy theories. I was like, at this point, if the traders want me out, which I thought they were like trying to, get us out one after the other. So that's how it felt. Like we were just marked for death and we were just gonna go home one after the other. I was like, I just gotta get rid of the traders. Like I don't care who they are. I have to just at least vote them out. Hindsight, maybe I should have calmed it down a little bit and like just like pretended to be like, oh, I don't know what's happening, but I just couldn't. I just couldn't do it.
I appreciated it. I thought it was fun that you came to the wrong people and said, "Well, they might kill me next, so let me say my piece."
And
Like
that's the thing. Like other people needed to be put in that grave to understand that your time here is limited. They didn't feel that. They were like, oh, I don't know. We'll think about it tomorrow. Tomorrow. You might not be here tomorrow. Like I feel like some people needed to be put in that grave to give them like a lifeline check and be like, wow. Because my life flashed before my eyes. Even though I was saved early on, I still felt like it put a target on my back because it showed the traders that everyone was willing to save me and trusted me. So it was like a double-edged sword.
I don't want to jump too ahead, but I do think it's relevant to this like conversation right now.
Mhm.
How do you explain to people your experience for them to understand that you're faithful? Like, I feel like that's very difficult because you actually have to really put yourself in someone else's shoes, but people are also very stuck in their ways. So, how do you try to make people understand, like, hey, like, I was almost murdered? Like,
Yeah.
my safety, even like a lot of like this discord about you getting a shield and stuff, like, it requires a level of understanding where you're coming from.
I think you need to be able to like understand like what type of players these people are.
Mm.
So when it comes to explaining yourself to people, you need to understand, are they more of an emotional player? Like, do you have to pull out your emotions a little bit? Are they more of a logical player? Will they understand the logic? So each player is a bit different, and that's what makes the game like so complicated, is that a lot of people, I mean, everyone sees the game differently and has different points and opinions. That's why we're so chaotic as a group. But I think that coming into this game, you have to be able to like emotionally read people. And that's what I was trying to do. And I think that's how I was able to build trust. I understand the way that people were thinking, and I just kind of positioned my faithfulness to them in that way. It didn't really work at the end because my association with Rhea and everything with the shield and all those things. But I really tried my best to just show them who I was as a person. Whether or not that came across, I don't know, but I really tried my best.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about Kevin because before Kevin does his
Okay.
big one, you have a conversation with him, and I think it's so funny. I think
Yeah.
you're talking about Kara, and I think he puts out like maybe Kara's a traitor, and then you go in the confessional, you're like, "Excuse me, you think Kara's a traitor? Like you're a traitor, like you're giving traitor right now." So I just thought that dynamic was so funny, and I'm curious, how do you engage in those conversations with someone you think is a traitor because you have to like toe the line.
Yeah. So so that day I had just been put in the grave. So I was like, let me go confront the traitor right now. The main traitor I was close with. So coming into that conversation with Kevin, I was like, listen, in my head, sorry, this was not in real life. This was just in my head. I was like, we either come out of this like me trusting you more and like that you have this some sort of smart game plan. But after that conversation, I just had felt like I was not a priority to him. Maybe I had misconstrued things. Maybe it was just in my head, but I felt like I wasn't a priority. And I was like, oh, so I'm just expendable at this point. And when we were talking about who the possible traders were, and he would say someone like Kara, who just to me was the most obvious not a trader, it just really riled me up. I was like, okay, so whenever we talk to each other, we're just gonna be talking about random names. Like I might as well just say, oh, I think the wall is a traitor. Like I might as well just pull that out. Like so it just felt like that during the conversation, and that's kind of what made my head spin and vote out Kevin in a sense. But to be honest, I really loved Kevin and really wanted to work with him. I was just having my own paranoia frenzy because of the grave situation.
Hmm. Well, I speaking still on the line of Kevin, the lead up to his banishment is wild. Like it's wild. And I just I think it's so interesting because this idea of like you're having these conversations about Coco, like Coco is the one. I was sitting at home. I'm convinced Coco's going home. Like I'm talking to a trader after this. It's gonna be Coco because everyone's on that line of thought. And I just think it's so interesting where Kevin's like, okay, I have to go. And like immediately kind of just like leaves. Like, how do you go about that? Because your suspicion is on Coco. You are one of the main people leading the Coco train. So how
Yeah.
do you balance that?
And what was hard being a part of that was that I wanted Coco out like so badly. But the issue was in the conversation too was Hollywood, and Hollywood was basically right after that was like, oh, it's Kevin.
Hmm.
And you have to be able to like toe the line of like being able to also look like a faithful. Like it would look so unfaithful of me if I was in that conversation and then be blinded by that sort of like, oh yeah, Kevin wasn't acting weird. Meanwhile, he was like acting really weird. Like it would be so unfaithful and traitorous of me to be blinded by that. But I think that to his credit though, like he was really doing his best to get Coco out. And I was fully backing him up on that even until the round table. It's just once everything happened at that round table where he just like went off and stuff like that. I just felt like the votes weren't there, and I had just been in conversations with other people where they were talking about Kevin, and I had to be my faithful self and make a last minute decision. But at the end of the day, I still think that Kevin played a really great game. Like no one was coming after him at that point. Like literally no one. His name was actually not going to get written down. It only got written down at that time. So I think that at the end of the day, you just have to be cautious about what you say. Like you actually, it's a really hard game.
Well, Kevin does whatever he does at the table. I can't even really describe it. You
Yeah.
vote for Kevin, which is a hard watch, obviously, but um,
Hmm.
Kevin does put the spotlight on Coco. Like there's a lot of like, well, if you let's vote out Coco and then Shaughnessy, but like vote Coco out. And like if it's not Coco, then vote me out. Like there's a lot
Hmm.
of conversations, and obviously you've had seen a few seasons, so you're familiar with Traitor on Traitor. So I was convinced by the end of that roundtable, Kevin's out, Coco's out, good luck, Venus. And it ends up being like you're the only one advocating to get Coco out. How how do you we just talked about towing that line, right? But Kevin's behavior was quite out there. So who do you even talk to and try to get Coco out from that point?
You know what? It was like the way I explained it was imagine like being a viewer at home, but actually being in the game. Because
Mm.
that's how it felt. Like watching everyone like ignore the Coco situation, but being the viewer and being like, we literally just saw Kevin do this. Like, why are we ignoring it? The issue I think that kind of got me derailed is that in this game it's also a team game and you have to listen to what everyone has to say. And a lot of the people on the cast have really strong opinions and they're strong-minded, and I respect that. And their points were all over the place, but but it's really hard to toe the line. You don't want to be like too much out there being like, oh, we need to get out this traitor, and let's say they actually are a traitor and you miss, you're basically gonna go home the next day. So it's really hard, but there comes a point where, especially after Omer left, I was like gutted, heartbroken, everything. I was like, okay, I don't know where everyone else is going, but I'm going for Coco because that is the most logical thing we can do. Everyone wants to act on like, oh, emotions and different theories that they come up with. But if we look at the facts and the logic, Coco should go next. But in this game, everything's not straightforward. So,
Well, to your point about the strong personalities and people pushing their agenda, there are agendas that are being pushed every week. That's how someone gets eliminated. Did you feel like you could position yourself as like, okay, like I actually want to push this Coco agenda. I don't really care what anyone says. Like I really want to follow this line. Or was it more important for you to seem like a team player to the point where you're like, okay, like It is what it is.
Yeah, so coming into the day where Omer goes home, I honestly was like fully convinced for Coco and was telling everyone, we're voting for Coco. Don't budge, don't change your mind. Meanwhile, I changed my mind. But I was fully convinced up until the last 5 to 10 minutes. And the only person who could have switched me or swayed me was Rhea. I love her to death. She's the best, but she's the only person who could have switched me, and she swayed me at the last minute. And that was also because, you know, part of this game is also building trust. I don't want to be the type of person to steamroll my own ideas forward. I want to be able to collaborate and work together, especially if we're going to make it to the end. And I wanted to hear her ideas and her points. So when she came up to me with that idea, um, I was like, you know what? I'm willing to listen and to say yes. Um, in the event that we're wrong, we can do Coco tomorrow. I didn't know that everyone was gonna, basically wipe their hands off, put Coco to the side. I didn't know that. For me, it was still so obvious, but at the end of the day, I just felt like at that point when I voted out Omer, I had to be a team player and listen to other people. But that got wiped away when Omer wasn't a traitor, and I couldn't fathom voting out another person and be wrong. So I was like, when we know someone is right.
Mm. Well, let's talk about your relationship with Rhea because in my opinion, obviously I get to interview people and see the
Yeah.
show. Like every week I was interviewing someone, Rhea's name was brought up. Like to me,
Oh,
she was
really?
giving main character. Like in a good way, bad way,
She
whatever.
is the
Like
main character. No, she is the main character.
gives
And that
me
was part of the reason why I loved working with her because she was so well liked. And I was like, it's important for me to get someone who's well liked on my side because maybe she'll brush it off on other people. But yeah, she was really a main character, so lovable, so likable. Yeah.
I mean, to that point, when I saw you two working together, to me, I had seen you kind of make relationships with like Kevin and other people and Rhea. And so I was kind of surprised that there was this closeness between the two. And I think Dom brings it up, but like in the edit, it's one thing, being on there is another. So I would love to know more about your relationship with Rhea as the journey evolved up until that roundtable because you did seem like she was your number one, your ride or die.
Yeah. Um, Funny enough, first off, I didn't know that I was so close with everyone on the show, on the cast. I was blindsided too that everyone was like, wow, I thought we were your number one. I said, what? When did this happen? No, I must have done something like crazy that I'm unaware of. You might have to ask them what I did to make them trust me so much because I don't know. I don't know. I was just talking to people and minding my own business. But the thing with Ria, so we basically met at the very first day, and she was one of the first people who I just connected with right off the bat. Um, she was someone who, how should I say this, always reassured me. There's a lot of people in this game, and you can't really talk to everyone every single day or every single minute. But she always made an effort to reassure me, saying, "Oh, we're each other's number ones. We're gonna go to the end together. We're gonna split the money." And she was the only one reassuring me every single day. Even though I was close with a lot of people, she was the only one reassuring me. So that's why I had felt such a close connection with her. So as each day went along, and more sus was getting on her, I was like, I don't want to lose Ria. So that was part of the reason why I had told her that her name was coming up because I needed her to be able to defend herself. I just knew I knew she was a faithful, so I wanted her to be able to defend herself and stay in the game. Um, a part of my strategy too was I was really close with Thompson, who I knew was a faithful, and I was really really close with Rhea. And a part of my strategy was to build the bridge and connect us three together. And if Thompson had stayed, us three would have been close. But so that was part of my thing to get them to like get past their beef and be friends with each other. But Rhea was someone who was super kind, super nice, and I wasn't willing to just throw away that friendship that we had built for so long just because people were emotional about her switching her vote. Which also I felt like if anyone should be mad about that is me. So I don't
Correct.
know why we were all all mad about that vote, when she only told me and Natalie to switch our votes. She didn't tell everybody there to do it. I don't know why everyone else did it, but it was just funny because I was like, you guys are all getting riled up over this, creating theories about acting and stuff like that. And that's why I was so gutted when she said she was a traitor. I'm like, you you proved me wrong. Like to all these people who had some random theories coming out of their brains, but it's justifying watching it back because I'm like, okay, well, she had just been recruited. Okay, so their theories were there from like day three when nothing was really happening.
Well, I want to talk about that because the look on your face, I remember watching it and being like, "Oh my goodness." Like even when I spoke to her, I was like, "Did you think about Jericho and like the remnants of that because the poor boy's been right this entire time and now he thinks he's bamboozled because technically like Rhea's the second traitor you're very close to in a capacity or in a sense."
Oh, I was like losing my mind. I said, there's no way that I was like literally tight with two traders. No, I was bamboozled because I couldn't even celebrate because I was just so shell shocked. Like everyone's out here jumping around. Maybe I should have like jumped around too and like thrown a little like jiggy or something, but I was not. I was shocked. And to be honest, I didn't expect like her to be so how should I say this? Like emotional about us. Like I knew that we were close, but it really touched me that she was like saying, "Oh, we're each other's number ones," and the only person here who's my friend is Jericho. Like it really touched me a lot. So I was like, "Oh, she's about to say she's a faithful," and then when she said she's a traitor, I said, "Wait a damn minute! Wait a damn minute!" I was like, "Hold up."
I was so gagged and I think I made a tweet. I was like, poor Jericho's gonna think he's been wrong this entire time when he like genuinely to me, I think you were probably the one faithful that was always 100% on the ball. Like every time. Like your reads in the confessionals, like what you were saying to other people. And I was like, oh, like this is bad. But I was like, I think they'll think that he was bamboozled and finessed, and they'll stick with the fact that he's one of the most faithful faithfuls. So to have the episode we just had yesterday, I was like, hold on, we're not actually turning on Jericho. So like, I would love to know about the morning after. Did you feel like there was a vibe shift amongst the other people in the Maynard?
It happened right after Rio left. It was not even like 5 seconds later they all turned on me. So it literally kind of just happened right afterwards. So once Rio went home and we all come back and start celebrating, I started eyes, different eyes, not I, but different eyes started to point towards me, and people had thought she was a traitor from the start, and I was the one recruited. So that was kind of the theory bubbling around, and a lot of people thought they were close allies with me. We had people like Don being like, "What happened to us? Like I thought we were homies." Meanwhile, you have Venus. Like, what do you mean? Like, relax a little bit. So there was a lot of people who had felt like shell shocked, and I think maybe Ria had and I had like disguised our duo-ness, but we didn't even try to. I didn't even try to. It just was kind of disguised. So a lot of people kind of felt like betrayed that I wasn't close with them. A lot of people were like, "Oh, he must be recruited." And then I was so sad that people were like, "Oh, he's just guilty." And he's like not he has changed his behavior. And I'm like, guys, I literally am just shocked. Like, am I not allowed to have a moment to decompress and to relax? And then Meredith is like, "Ah, we've all had bad days." And I'm like, okay, whatever, whatever, whatever. I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna let it go because at this point, like everyone's losing their minds. So I just didn't know what to do anymore. I was like, if y'all want to vote me out, just vote me out.
Hmm. Well, before we talk about your vote out, I do have to talk about the Shield debacle because I thought that was so interesting. I, if you asked me to put $1 million on who amongst the four of you was going to take the Shield, you were not. This is me being genuine. You were not the person I thought you were going to take the Shield. I was like, Jericho's definitely not taking the Shield. And when you said that, I said, thank God I did not bet any money. I was gagged. I said, oh, okay, like sure, I guess. Like I was like flabbergasted. Can you like talk about that choice?
You know what's crazy? It was such a last minute decision, and I honestly was teetering like back and forth between it. But The root of me taking that shield was one, you literally saw everyone say they trusted me the most.
Mm.
If I was a traitor, that's the first person who's gonna get killed. So that was my mindset. I was like, okay, everyone trusts me the most. That's the easiest target for the traders. There's no way I'm gonna get banished. So obviously, this is the easiest way to go home for me is to be killed. So I was thinking, okay, well, I can try to get a shield right now. And if they try to target me, then there's no murder in general. Like no one gets killed in general. So I also didn't think that all of us four would get it right. I just thought the odds of us four getting it right were really slim. We were close, but it was I knew it was going to be slim. And also a part of me was like, no one wants to vote out Coco right now. So I'm kind of annoyed with that. So I'm just going to take a shield. So it was just three different things and factors. And I was like, if I go home tonight for not taking a shield and Coco's still there and writes my name down, I'm gonna be pissed. So let me go ahead and take the shield and call it a day.
I like in retrospect after you did it, I was like, you know what, it's fair. Like you want to be alive the next day. Like that makes sense. Like that inherently is faithful because at the end of the day, traders also want money. So
Yeah.
like taking a shield, that's a good mask for traders, but inherently it is a faithful move. And it's a faithful move that requires selfishness, which makes sense. So
Mhm.
in the morning, I really just need to talk about the morning because you walk in,
It was
obviously
a rough morning for me. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I would love to talk about it because like I was like, is Jericho like thinking before he's saying the things he's saying, or is it just like a hazy morning? Because like like after the whole Rhea vote, because when you were like, I'll tell you in private or whatever to Dom, and I was like, so hey, you're three in the room, and then Meredith picked up on it. I said, oh, here we go. Can you like talk about what you like? What happened?
Yeah. Okay. Honestly, I had no idea what happened. I think I was like exhausted at that point because so the whole thing with Rhea happened and I just really was so shell shocked by that. So coming into the morning, I was like, I just need to have a relaxing morning. Meanwhile, I'm getting bombarded with questions about the shield. I'm like, guys, can we eat first? Like, can I have a slice of bacon before we start this? So that was kind of like my thinking was that, to be honest with you, I didn't trust Meredith. So I did not want to put this information with Meredith. The way I went about it was wrong, but that's kind of just how I would have went about it in real life. I'm not the type of person to be like, oh, well, okay, I'll tell you. No, I'm just gonna be like, hey, let me tell you in private. Like, I kind of went about it the wrong way. And I probably should have not said that to like the most like sensitive person in the game. So it was my bad.
Well, you do that, and then the next group comes in, and I was like, I don't think that Meredith will let this go, but at least it's a like I want to tell people in private situation,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
you can argue that you misspoke. So then
Yeah.
when that is like, so did you have the shield? And you were like, yeah. I said, oh, so
Yeah, okay, okay. I know. I don't know what I was thinking, but at that point too, I just trusted the people I trusted. So the only people who I didn't trust at that point in the game were three people. I didn't trust Meredith, I didn't trust Coco, and I didn't trust Venus. Those were the only three people I didn't trust left. So when people are asking me, I'm willing to share any information with the people I trust. So when Lisette asks me, I love Lisette. Lisette's like an amazing person. So I'm gonna tell her, I'm gonna tell you I took this shield. In hindsight, yeah, maybe I should have just lied and said no to everything. No, I didn't take the shield. But I was just so I don't even know what I was thinking. I just wanted to tell them. I was like, oh, I took the shield. Look. But also I think I remember, but I think I also wanted to show them that, oh, look, a faithful would take the shield. They want to be safe. But it did backfire a little bit. So I maybe should have just said no in general to everything.
mm. Well, the challenge I want to shine a light just a tiny bit on it because your name kind of gets put out there again.
Yeah.
And so I said, let this not be the fall of Jericho. And like, no pun intended, but like, I was like, please, like, let this not be. So, like, I'm curious, how do you react in a moment where like the traders do put that attention on you again?
No, because I was the way that I was already having a bad day to begin with, and the traders were like, you know what, let me just pile on top of that. So the whole day, even the mornings, like I could tell people weren't really wanting to talk to me. And I
Mm.
was like, okay, well, the writing's on the wall. I get it. So coming into that mission, I was like, okay, well, I'm here with Jamal. I want to try to help Jamal at least like get a shield, keep him safe in the game. And then I didn't know that this game would be so it's mean. The traitors chose me as the least deserving to win. I was like, y'all gotta be kidding me. I'm like clocking the traders left and right. So you can't tell me I'm not the one that's deserving to win. But yeah, so they did a really good job at like painting me in a bad light and just kind of also hopping on top of it. The thing with this cast is I feel like we like bandwagon, so whoever's the hot topic of the day, we go for. And I think at that t at during that time, people were playing just not to lose. Well, while I was trying to play to win.
Mm. Well, we have to talk about the round table because this is where it all goes down.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe there's a slight chance. Maybe I was like, n- not that I want Chala or Meredith to go because they're like faithful, but I was like, maybe Jericho will survive. Like the names are out there, just maybe. And we see the round table, and I like to have all eyes on you like that and having to like defend yourself immediately. Like, what were you thinking going into it? Because at that point, you saw the writing on the wall.
I saw the writing on the wall. I tried to put on like a nice formal fit to end the experience on a high note. I was like, what am I gonna wear today that I might have worn it during the finale? Like I was already like planning it, but the best thing I could do at that point was kind of just speak my truth. A lot of people during the reality portion were telling me to just like s- wait until the round table. So I knew the writing was already on the wall. People weren't really giving me a chance to speak. So coming into that, I just wanted to be able to speak my truth, defend myself, like respect my integrity. And then the only person there who I really wanted to shine a light on and paint a target was Meredith. So that was also part of it.
And that you did. I'm curious, like it's hard because I feel like sometimes I watch it and the round table discussion is there to like have an open mind. That's a conversation that people have before their vote. They're like, I came in with an open mind and this is what happened. Do you genuinely feel like the round table is a space to change people's minds? Or do you feel like it's things that need to be done beforehand? Like, would you have changed how you went about defending yourself?
Um, I probably would have done a better job at speaking to people a bit earlier, like in the morning, like I should have just pulled people in right away. The thing was that my close association with Rio was just such like a nail in the grave. Like people were already like thinking I was recruited. So that's part of like the strategy of the game. You have to be able to talk to people like right away. You can't really wait for the round table. And I think that at the round table, most people going in usually know who they're voting for. For me, I always kept it, open, especially because I wanted to be able to get out the traders. So whatever information is presented, I wanted to use that wisely. But, a part of the game also, we're pretty deep in the game, you need to like self-preserve. And I think there's also some level of strategy involved with getting me out because at the end of the day, if I wasn't in the fire, I think people would have chosen me to stick with them. So it was like a double-edged sword because I felt like I was a threat to the traders, but I also was like a threat to the faithful. So I was kind of just like a threat in general, and getting me out was just like, okay, we can get him out.
Was there anyone's vote that like surprised you or you felt betrayed by?
Um, I have a lot of like love and respect for Sarah. Sarah's like someone who I love to death, and we were really close in the game. And we had a really amazing, heartfelt conversation before the round table. So seeing her vote me out was I wasn't like offended, but I was just hurt because I loved her so much. But her was like the saddest one, I think. But the rest of them I expected. Dom was kind of like a surprise because I felt like even if I was a trader, voting me out wasn't really great for his game. But at the end of the day, I respect it. So I was like, you know what? You do what you gotta do. If you gotta vote me out, vote me out. But I think that in general, I don't really have any ill will against anyone, so I really respected all their votes, to be honest.
Well, let's say from some miraculous reason, instead of Thompson, you get picked and you get offered to be a traitor, or even if you were in Ria's shoes and you get offered to be a traitor, would you have said yes?
Good question. Good question. Um, if I was selected during the when we were blindfolded, I would have said yes. Like, because I had been in such a, how should I say this, state where I felt like I was going to get murdered every night, especially because of the grave. And I just wanted that protection. And I was in a really good spot with everyone where everyone thought I was a faithful, king of the faithfuls, faithful, the most faithfuls. So I was like, okay, this is the perfect position for me to be in. If I was asked during the Rhea time, I probably would have said no at that point. But if I was asked at the time, I would have said yes. So my mind was just switching every day. So I don't know.
You end up being banished, robbed king. I
Wow.
have to ask you because I'm gonna be honest. The moment you left, I said, I don't know if I'm rooting for the faithfuls anymore. So I have to ask you, are you rooting for the faithful or the traitors?
I will say at that moment when I had left, I was rooting heavily for the faithfuls because being a faithful yourself, you see how hard it is to get out a traitor. You see what you're going through mentally, physically, just everything about being a faithful is hard. But I will say kudos and respect to the traitors. Like Coco, you kidding me? Watching it back and seeing Coco in the conclave, I'm like, wow, mad respect to you. Because even when I did think she was a traitor, I thought she was more on the sidelines, kind of just letting the traitors decide. But I didn't know she was really like in the mix there. So, and Venus is doing a really great job too at like making sure she's close with everyone and being under the radar. So I thought watching them, I was like, wow, you guys are doing such a great job. And now I'm like, let's go, traitors.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask you, is there any lessons that you took away from this experience?
Yeah, I think the biggest lesson I took away is to just like believe in myself.
Mm.
Coming into the game, I did have confidence and I knew I was very sure of myself, and I think that I wouldn't have been selected if I didn't think I could win. But when you're stepping into this reality ring and you see people from like Survivor, Big Brother, and other amazing shows, and everyone has such big, boisterous personalities, sometimes you feel lost in the shadows and you're like, wow, I don't know if I'm like cut for this or I don't know if I belong. And I think someone put it really well for me when I was on the show and said that there's a reason why you're here and there's a reason why you were chosen. So I think that I wish that I had a little bit more of a stronger gut instinct and really just believed in my gut more and like focused in on that. But now taking away what I've been through in that show, I really have so much confidence and belief in myself now.
Hmm. Well, I want to ask you this as well. Now that you know everything that has happened and you've watched the show, do you actually think that Coco, for example, is on borrowed time, or do you think she'll be able to clutch it?
I don't know. I think that with these faithfuls, they're all over the place. Like we honestly have like 20 different theories going on at once. And I think now that we're close to the end of the game, we're gonna see people who'll try to win. It's definitely there's still definitely a lot of game left to be played. So I don't know where Coco stands, to be honest.
Okay. Well, those are all my questions, but I'm curious, is there anything you want to talk about that we maybe didn't touch on?
I think that overall, I had such a great experience. Coming into the game, I was a huge fan of just everyone that I played with. So it was really a great honor, and I'm so excited to see how the season goes.
Okay, well, thank you so much for talking with me. I loved our chat. I loved picking your brain. Is there anything you want to like plug before you go?
Okay, so quick plug, just follow me on Instagram, Jericho.Dacillo. That's Jericho dot Dacillo, and then TikTok, my first and last name. So if you follow me there, you can keep up with my life and travels that I'm doing soon.
Okay, well, amazing. Thank you so much for your time. I enjoyed talking to you. And
Yeah.
hopefully, this will not be the last time we see you.
Hey, they know my number. Call me, reach me, get me on another show. I would do anything to come back. Maybe not the Traders, but a different show. But I had such a great time in general.
Okay, well, thank you.